welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. So quickly, our sponsors. We are proudly sponsored by Yugoku caps. You've seen me wearing them on the podcast. You can get the discount codes from me, send me a message. I'll send them to you. They're floating around. We're also sponsored by Phoenix head torches. Same thing goes. If you're after a discount code, just get in touch. There are there on the web, but if you want them personally from me, I will send them to you. And also, finally, we are proudly sponsored by Home Trails. So Home Trails is my YouTube series interviewing famous trail runners from hopefully around the world at some point. In the UK at the moment, where we interview them on the trail in the home trails. You understand what it is, don't you? You've listened to the show. That's hopefully turning into a bit of a brand, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Okay, on with the actual show. Yes, we are recording. So, welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast, Sarah Perry.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
and I know how much you like desperate to come on, and how much you really want to come on the
I've been
podcast.
haven't I?
Yeah, let's get this out of the way. So I have essentially bullied you into coming on to the podcast, haven't I?
Yeah, fair.
You are a reluctant podcast interviewee, aren't you? Is that something that you knew right from the start, or is that something that's just it's been built up over the years with being forced to do podcasts about ultra running?
I think it's a combination of things. Yeah, I think it's a combination of kind of that feeling of like, oh, you're an introvert, and then you go to a meeting or something, and there's that feeling of right, everybody go around, introduce yourself, say something about yourself, and it's just that like you just freeze. There's that, and then there's kind of being asked like the same questions. Sorry, but it's the same questions, isn't it? Again and again. And then I shouldn't say this really, should I? But then sometimes it's the obscure questions too. Like somebody asked me once, "What's your favorite cafe?" And I just kind of like what is that? Why? Why?
What was the
They
answer to that, incidentally?
didn't have one. So I was just, I was
Okay, well, yeah, I'll probably have some of the same questions that you've heard before, and then I'll try not to throw anything too obscure in. So, but I've already primed you anyway on my main question, which is the question that I always start with the podcast with for new guests. So, because this is your first time and possibly the only time you're ever going to come on this podcast, so we've got we've got to ask the superhero question. So if ultra runners are superheroes, which I think they are, and I kind of include myself in that somehow. All superheroes have a backstory, an origin story. So Sarah Perry, what is your superhero backstory? What's your ultra running backstory? How did you go from regular human being to being the ultra running superstar that you obviously are?
Oh, well, I don't think I am, but I guess I guess I was always that. I guess starting right at the start, I was always that kid that was kind of in class daydreaming about being outside. We spent like all of our free time, weekends, holidays, um, doing fun stuff outside, basically in the hills, bit of cycling, lots of walking. And I guess like first and foremost, I've got that like love of the outdoors. So kind of had a bit of a break from it um at uni, and then got a full-time job. Found that really stressful, so needed like turn to the outdoors for that kind of like balance, I guess. I found that it gave me something to put my like energy and focusing into, and then just kind of like found my love of it, like linked up running. So like I was running lots of the routes that we used to walk as kids and like exploring those areas of the countryside, but faster and on my own. And then just kind of push the distance gradually, like realize actually I can run like 30 miles here. Like just went out one day ran 30 miles. And I was like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like if I ran 40 miles. I wonder what that would feel like. And just then realised that people did events, people did ultra events. I tried some of those. And yeah, it was a downward spiral from there, really.
So did you sort of discover like ultra running before you actually knew it was a thing then, like doing it on your own?
Kind of. So my brother did like ultra running. So he did the bob, and that was my first like experience of that. So there was like I knew that people did it, but I didn't know it was as big as it was. Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, to answer your question.
Yeah. So you say you sort of had like an outdoorsy upbringing then. So where was that? Where were you brought up?
So we were in York, so we spent lots of time in like the Dales, the Moors. We'd go to like Scotland, and the lakes for holidays. Bit of everything.
Yeah. So when did your no, for the listeners' benefit, I was online before we started this interview, and I was doing my usual 10 minutes of like power research on the person I'm about to interview. I know of you, and I know what you've achieved and stuff. I thought I just wanted to try and find a few more details that I could ask about you. But you came on early, so I felt obliged to sort of let you into the let you out of the breakout room and into the recording. So I lost all of my research time. So what's the time scale on you getting into ultra running and racing and to where we are now? How long's it been?
So I think I did my first kind of races maybe like 2019. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that's not a massive amount of time, but I think like once I started, that that was it. I was hooked. It's it's a bit almost addictive like that, isn't it? So yeah, I've done a few things in that time. Yeah.
Did you sort of benefit from lockdown then when because if you started in sort of like 2019, was that sort of like a bit of what were you doing work wise at that time? Was it something that you could do lots of running in that time?
Yeah, so lockdown was I was teaching. I was in the northeast at the time, and yeah, we did so many lockdown challenges. We did like I'm trying to think. There was so many crazy ones that we did. We did like 19 miles for 19 days. We did an accumulator too. Like you you've heard of that? Yeah, that was I've gained like not loads and loads of ultras. We did do some ultras, but like I just gained loads of fitness in in that time. So yeah, good. I think that was probably the time because we were running around, like from our door, obviously in the northeast. I think that was when we decided to move to the lakes too. We were like, we need to move somewhere a little bit greener. Yeah.
Mm. So what was your first lakes race then?
Oh, I don't think. Do you know I haven't done that many races in the lakes, but we spent loads of time wrecking the bob, helping other people on their bobs, in preparation for my bob. So I think the bob was probably the first thing. Yeah, I haven't done that many races in the lakes. Don't know why. I think it's your backyard. I think
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
different, isn't it? It's like why sign up for something when you can just pop out and do it? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. That's true. But then again, you've literally like over the weekend you did just that, didn't you? You stayed local and you won the 13 valleys, didn't you? How did you sort of had you seen the race? So obviously, it's only in its second year, isn't it? That race. So I did one of the races last year, and it was like miserable, but I enjoyed it. So what attracted you to that race? Because it was on your doorstep and you could do it, or if it's something you've been sort of wanting to target with that? Because to let the listeners know you knocked a considerable time off the record, didn't you, for that distance?
Yeah, so I saw everybody completing it last year and it looked miserable. Everyone talked about how hard it was, how difficult it was, you know, the route this, the weather that. And I was like, I think I fancy that. And also it's the race is sponsored by Innovate, so it's handy for me because they invited me to run it for them. So, yeah.
Yeah. So how did it sort of go then? So the weather was behaved a bit better than this year.
Yeah, the weather was really good. I was just in a like a long sleeve top for the whole thing. I think I put my raincoat on once. It rained a little bit, but yeah, it was the weather was so good for September. Because I always think with September it can go either way, can't it? Like this time, was it last year? Maybe at the end of September or the start of September. I remember I did a race and it was boiling hot. It was like so warm. So yeah, I was happy with the weather. I do better when it's like colder, rainy, you know,
Mm.
that sort of jam. But yeah, it just went to plan. You know, I knew the route. Some of the route I'd done like numerous times. Like I knew it like the back of my hand. Did you say you did the 13 last year?
No, I only did. I think I was still coming back from injury last summer, so I ended up just doing. I think I was down to do the full thing. Like I think it'd been given to me as a media place, like ages before, and then I got injured. So I like asked them if I could drop down either the 7 or the 5. I can't even remember what I did now.
There's
It was only like
seven
what's the
60 something, but the five's 30 miles.
oh, maybe it was that one. Yeah, it was so that was like the short one then. Yeah, is there a shorter one than that? Is the 3 valleys as well? The
It's
3, 5,
22,
7.
I'm sure it was like a 22K or something.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like not the shortest one. It was I managed to get, and actually I was starting to come back from injury then, so it actually worked out as a really nice distance actually. Yeah, and I love that route, but the weather in the lakes can be horrific, can't it, at times? But it can be like randomly like glorious. I know that I came up and did Tour de Helvellyn in was that 22, the winter of 22 or 21. I think it might have been 21. And it was like there was like a temperature inversion and it was like t-shirt weather. It was
Yeah.
bizarre. Like middle of December and you just
Makes
like, yeah, t-shirt
yeah,
on. It's great.
madness. Yeah. Yeah, it
But
can be a bit like that. It's just temperamental, isn't it?
yeah,
But yeah, I think lots of people like I think because it was the first time the event ran last year, there was things that needed tightening up, like the route slightly, and like maybe the checkpoints, just things like that. And this time, they'd done all of that. They'd listened to everybody, and it just ran so smoothly.
yeah.
It felt like Jill going to Lakeland or something like that, like a big, well-established
Race.
event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Um.
I did feel for them last year because um I almost felt like it hearing complaints from people in different races and stuff. At the time, it almost felt like they'd taken a bit too much on at first, like putting on that many races all in one go instead of sort of starting with one race and then expanding it, sort of thing.
mm,
But if that was always their intention to put on those distances, then fair play to them to do that. And I know that it's no mean feat, is it, putting on a race like that? So the race I did, they changed the route like overnight. I didn't see the email until the morning. In fact, I didn't even see the email. Someone told me about it. I was like, "Have you seen the route change?" So I was like, "No, I ain't got a clue." And then where I was, there was obviously no like signal at all for phone, so I couldn't get the new GPX. But then like they were really good and they were like reassuring, like, "Oh, don't worry, it'll be like waymarked. It'll be signposted and the changes will be there." But there was like a section where, as we were running, the poor guy, I felt sorry for him. He was putting out the flags. He was like running ahead of us and putting the
oh,
flags out.
faster, faster, faster.
I felt I really felt for him. And I was like, and I said to him, I was like, if you like, if we caught you up, if we've got to like, if you got to like overtake us, and
Totally
then
get
with his bag of flags. And he was like, "Oh no, it's literally just this section to the next one. The next section is already been flagged and stuff, and all the signs are all there and stuff." I was like, "Oh, well, I felt a bit better for him after that." But yeah, it is a great race, and Alice, one of the organisers, I still haven't had her on. I meant to have her on after that race to talk about the race, so I'll remind myself to have a chat with her and get her on to talk about that. So when we're talking about the weather, you seem to be attracted to the really horrible races or conditions, don't you? Is that something that you find is one of your strong points?
Yeah, I think so. I really don't like being too hot, and I can manage myself. If the weather's bad, I don't mind just getting my head down and kind of pushing on. Um, yeah, it's just what I'm like. Yeah.
That's what you got at. I was thinking of that because when you did your Southwest Coast Path FKT, that you chose to do that in winter. So what time? What?
So it was actually April, but
Oh,
it
was it?
felt winter, yeah. So there was like two named storms, but it was the mud was just horrendous. Like sometimes I still have nightmares about that mud. You couldn't even run in it in some sections. It was so thick that I was just sliding around. And like I'd come up to like those little coastal towns and I'd be absolutely like covered in mud. I remember one time, look, I can't remember exactly where it was. There was just this kid like absolutely staring at me like, what happened to you? Just, toddlers do. They don't have any filters. They're just funny. But yeah,
You sometimes you feel like an alien, don't you? If you come out of like if you're on a trail and you're absolutely covered in mud or you've like fallen over or something, you come out into reality and people see you and you look like you've come from another planet, don't you?
yeah, it's funny. That's exactly it. Yeah.
That so that coastal path then so I was listening to you interviewed about it and you were and I couldn't quite get over. I knew that there was like some ferry rides on that, but I'd not quite fathomed how many there was. How many is it in total?
Like 15. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. And then some days, the way I planned it out, I couldn't avoid doing like two or three ferries some days. It was just unavoidable. Which, and then when you look at some of the ferry times, it's like there's certain ones that only operate like
At the
2 to 4 or
time.
like really you've got like a really small window and you've got to run 30 miles to get there.
Mm.
Um, so it makes it like a mammoth task.
Mm.
Um, but
Logis
somehow
Logistically, it must be like an absolute nightmare to organise that because I know that I know some of the sections of that, and one of the sections I know really well is that bit from Poole, because my brother lives in just at Hamworthy, like part of Poole, and I've often like ran down to the chain ferry and gone over the chain ferry, but there's times when the weather's so bad that that ferry doesn't run. How did you sort of with named storms coming in? How did you get around the fact that some of these ferries might have been cancelled?
So there was I can't remember exactly where it is now, but there was a couple of ferries It was only one day, luckily, where there was a couple of ferries cancelled. And I ended up just getting buses round, sat on public transport, and like the roads there in Cornwall are just like they're like the roads here in the lakes. It's like you can't get anywhere fast. So I just remember sitting there just like, oh no, this is eating into my running time. But I mean, like, I just kind of got on with it. Do you know when all you've got to do is run, get yourself places, eat, sleep a little bit. It's like you kind of just get into almost like adventure mode where it's just like do this, do this, do this, and don't worry about it too much.
Mm.
Because you haven't got any like brain space to worry.
Yeah. So logistics wise, then, did you set out specific places where you were definitely gonna sleep on not on the trail, sort of like actually in an actual bed?
Yeah, so it was a risky plan, but I'd recce'd lots of the route, and obviously I'd attempted it the year before, So like I'd done like a lot of it. I knew what it was gonna look like and feel like. So I'd planned that I could do like 50 miles a day. And then I'd sat down with my spreadsheet, put it all in with the ferries and everything, and planned out like and looked basically for Airbnbs or hotels or whatever that I could stay at, like pretty much. And I was so lucky with that kind of route. I don't know any other route that'd be like that. There were so many places like en route or just off the route where you could stay. Um, so I just like planned all of that in, and that worked perfectly for like maybe the first week or so. And then because I missed because I was on public transport for half a day, avoiding the like the ferry crossings that weren't operating, I was then like the schedule was pushed back, so I kind of had like that second week, the back end of that second week, like catching up with it
Mm.
constantly, like trying to do a little bit extra. And from there, really, it was just I wasn't really staying at the places that I'd planned to stay at because I was getting there like later and later
Mm.
and later. I think the last couple of nights I was there, like, I don't know if this is actually making any sense, it's just words coming out of my mouth, but I was there like basically for checking out time. And they were like, I was like, please, could I just come in for a little bit? And they were everyone was so kind. They were just like, come in for an hour, like, get a shower, have something to eat, like, have a nap, go, like, charge your things. That was like the beat of my life, charging like my watch and my phone and everything. Um, so yeah, I did plan to stay places, but I didn't always stay there. If that makes
Yeah, I'd imagine it's one of those things that it's kind of like the best laid plans of mice and men into. You can sort of plan something out like that with spreadsheets, but if it's going to go wrong, it will go wrong, especially in this country. In yeah, April's a funny time of year, isn't it? Because it could be absolutely like blisteringly hot, or it could be like torrential rain.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad I did it the way I did it. I think, I still needed somewhere to charge my phone and my watch, and it's like I personally I think it's so valuable to just like have a shower and a reset even. So, you know, it worked in my mind. It all the planning was still successful. Like I still utilized all of that accommodation, do you know?
Yeah, yeah. So did it apart from that, do you sort of hit your target? It was around 13 days, wasn't it? So what do you sort of plan like best case scenario and worst case?
Um, yeah, so if I remember correctly, there wasn't much wiggle room left in it because it was my Easter holidays, so I had to get back to teach at some point. Anyway, I think worst case was like 14 days and best case were 12 days or just like yeah, there wasn't much in it. But I knew like I had my eye on the self-supported record. That was, beating that basically was the best case scenario. But it was a funny thing because I kind of had that feeling like, like I knew I was gonna finish. I've had that feeling like once I started, I was like, this is happening. This is gonna get done any which way. Um, yeah.
Because you didn't have that, did you, the first time? What happened the first time you attempted it?
Yeah, so I had, I guess it was an injury, like a shin issue. Um, but it just, you ever have those like races or challenges where it just isn't happening, it just isn't clicking on like so many levels. So we had like, it was actually really hot too, which was obviously not great for me, but it was in the summer holidays too. So obviously lots of these places are super touristy. So I had support that time. My partner Luke was supporting me and he was struggling to meet me at the planned like checkpoints
Mm.
and like give me water, food, whatever. And I think just things not going to plan right from the start on like on lots of different levels, like mentally, that's hard, isn't it, to overcome. And I just knew early on that it just wasn't, yeah, it wasn't happening. But I think I needed to do that in order that I could come back and like do it self-supported and do it successfully.
Yeah, yeah. There's often a theme with those sort of big FKTs, isn't there? But the people sort of attempting things and not failing. We won't call it failing, just it not happening the first time, and then coming back having learned a lot and then making it work. That I was listening to the podcast with Tara Dower, who's just done the record on the Appalachian Trail. And she said something similar. How she like the first time she attempted it, she got like 80 miles in or something, and
Mm.
had to quit. And then she came back, did more recce's on it, and then came back and absolutely smashed the record like out the water, male and female. So there's something to be said in there with like preparation. Are you someone that sort of over prepares for something, or do you ever go into things sort of winging it a little bit, or are you like really finicky with like getting ready for something like that?
Um, I wouldn't say I over prepare. I think I am thorough with things. I think experience helps you, doesn't it, in terms of like, oh, this might happen or that might happen. I need to plan for that. I think there's been lots of things that I've done like lacking that experience, and I think that's okay. I think like, we're having a go, aren't we? We're doing it for fun, and like I don't think there's anything wrong with like getting things like a bit wrong the first time or the second time, or as long as you're having fun and you're learning something, I think that's okay. But I don't think yeah, I don't know. I'd like to hear what someone else thinks of what the way I prepare, really, because I don't think I over prepare. But um, yeah, I wonder what other people would think. Yeah, maybe I am haphazard. Maybe I just do a bit of jogging and then, turn up at the start line with some jelly sweets. I'll be fine.
Well, it works for some people, doesn't it? That does work. So talking about prep, then you're self-coached, aren't you? Is that something that you've always wanted? Have you ever wanted to get a coach, or have you ever been coached before in the past and then realized it was something that you didn't want to do?
I've never been coached. I think I run for fun, and like, so running's the best part of my day most days, as sad as that is. And like, there's nothing better for me than just going into the hills with my dog and just like doing what I want to do. And I think if I had a plan, and if somebody was like, right, you need to do this session or this many miles or this many minutes, I just think that would like just zap the fun away for me personally. Um, I do a lot of running to feel, and I think like I've learned what works for me.
Mm.
Um, so yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I've never been coached.
Have you ever been curious to think that how a coach could help you, or is it something that you just like? It's like a flat no, thinking it would remove the fun. Or do you think you could see yourself in a position where you could follow a plan and still find it fun?
I think it's so hard. Like I think I'm so stubborn that it would be really difficult. But I know that I definitely get like a percentage like extra out of myself. Like I know there's always room for improvement, isn't there? Maybe in the future the right person comes along.
Or maybe not. Maybe it would like completely ruin your running. So yeah, I suppose you just got to do what's right for you, haven't you? At the end of the day.
Yeah, we're all fun runners, aren't we? Just
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, we wouldn't do these ridiculously long races if we didn't find them fun. So it's got to be fun, isn't it? So yeah. So just circling back to 13 valleys then. So we're going to talk about that, your infamous post that you put on Instagram today. So this sparked a lot of comments into it. I mean I'm offline now, but there was like 76 comments on this. And then when I saw it, there was literally like 40 comments within about 10 minutes of you putting it on. So could you sort of, so I don't mess it up, what actually happened then at the race with this comment from was it from a was it from a fellow racer, or was it just a bystander?
Oh, so yeah, there's a bit of confusion. It was just a guy kind of milling around near the start line, just looking at who he's gonna insult. Just yeah. So it's like 10 minutes until the start time. You've got that feeling in your belly, you're nervous. It's just I went for a nervous wee, obviously, pushing back through the crowd, and then this man just says to me, "How are you going to get up the hills? There's nothing on you." And I just like stopped, like looked back at him, and was just like, "No, can't deal with this now. Like you're so stressed, aren't you?" And it's just like you just want to focus on not being sick and just like 'cause basically you want to start running, don't you? Because once you start running, you'll be fine. And yeah, I just wanted to mention, just posted it online, really just to have a bit of discussion about how it's, like why is anyone making any comments about anyone's body? That's my general feeling about it, really.
What was your like actual response to it? Did you just sort of have to just sort of ignore it and walk away?
Give him like a look, and I just went because I just didn't have it by that time. By the time I'd been from away, I probably had like 5 minutes until we were. It's just you've got so much going on in your head, and him and his comments aren't. Then I'm not going to add that to my list of worries. So it's just like, no, I'm not dealing with this. I'm just gonna leave.
It's crazy, isn't it, that people can do that? I know I've spoken about this on the podcast before, and my like body dysmorphia issues and stuff. I had I've been running for a long, long time, and I've been ultra running for since like 2011, 12, something like that. Yeah, so years and years of running, and there was a guy that came to our work, and we had a conversation about running, and I started, I said, yeah, I'm an ultra runner. He was like, oh, what's that? I was like, anything over like a marathon is technically classed as an ultra. So these are the races that I do, sort of like 50 milers, 100 milers and above sort of thing. And he like looked at me and he was like, but all the long distance runners I know are all really slightly built. How do you manage to run 50 miles with your build?
You know
It's-
what though? It's like everybody, like the amount of people that have sent me a private message, you say like this happened to me, this happened to me. Everybody has one of those stories, and it's scary how how like comfortable people are with making those sorts of comments. But
Mm,
half the time, I just think it's not that they're being spiteful; they have just not given it any thought.
mm.
It's
Yeah,
different.
that's it. Well, I explained to him. I says, well, actually, probably the long distance runners you're familiar with are marathon runners, and they tend to be like quite lightly built. I said, actually, for ultra running, it helps if you've got a bit of muscle on you, because it helps you sort of withstand the rigors of long distance running, and kind of. And then I said, well, actually, I've won quite a few races as well, so I can't be doing too bad. And that
Yeah,
kind of
they
kind of
just
shut.
put that in there. Then did you wear your medals to work the next
Yeah.
day?
But obviously, yeah, he doesn't. And who else was I was having in this conversation with in a podcast? I forgot his name, and it's gone out my name now. Ellis Bland. We had a conversation about how he feels about his physique, and how his body naturally, if he doesn't train, it naturally wants to just like bulk up sort of thing. And I said, I'm exactly in the same boat. Like when I was a teenager, all I wanted to do was go to the gym and lift weights. and look muscly. And my
Yeah.
body's kind of retained that memory. So if I go to the gym, I can put muscle on quite easily, which is like it's a good thing for ultra running, but not if you like putting muscle on in your top half. And he was saying it's the same sort of thing. Like we're sort of we're taught, aren't we, that through media and everything, and like growing up, that you should look a certain way for a certain sport. And I suppose to a certain degree mountain running, it does help if you're a bit lighter for ascending and stuff. But there's plenty of stories of people that the one that came to mind was like recently that Tour de France rider. Did you hear about him who actually put on about 20 kilos in body weight because he found that his body just could perform better, and he was like king of the mountain in so many stages of that race. Can't remember his name now, who he is. But it just goes to show that it's not about your physique, is it? About how you look. It's about how you perform into it.
Yeah, and I think in ultra running, I think we're great at that. There's so many like different body shapes. Everyone looks completely different. Good, it's good. It's like a good thing to see, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah, yeah. Anyway, we'll get off that like serious subject of talk about fun things. So sort of going forward, then, what have you got cooking? Then, what plans have you got for races, events, FKTs? Have you got anything that you're working towards?
But in 2 weeks' time, I've got the UK Backyard Ultra Championships.
Amazing.
So obviously, like ideally, I wouldn't have like scheduled those those two things so close together, but it's just how it falls sometimes. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Where
Uh,
is?
so it's in oh, I don't know how to say it. It's like somewhere down south. I want to say Tetford. Is that?
Oh, yeah, Thetford, yeah. Mm.
That's dead. And yeah, so I'm not sure if you know how that works, but we'll be on a team of I think it's 15, the UK team, and we'll be basically running against like countries all over the world and their teams of 15, um, basically competing against them to try and stay in for as long as we can. That should be
Yeah,
good.
it'd be amazing. What are you hoping to what yardage they call them yards? They call them yards. Yeah, what are you hoping to achieve?
Well, I've got the week off work, so I'm
Go all
just
week.
I'm hoping to just go until I can't anymore, which hasn't been something that I've been able to do in the past,
Mm.
for various reasons like work or driving myself home or other anything else. So yeah, I'm just hoping to go until I can't.
I think that's the thing that scares me about backyard ultras, and I do want to do one at some point. I haven't got anything at the minute where I've got it booked in or anything, but that idea, because I've done big races, done the spine, I've done long stuff, but I know that I've never DNF'd in a race yet. So I don't know that feeling of have literally giving everything that you've got until you literally can't move anymore. And that's probably because I haven't tried hard enough in races, possibly. But yeah, are you sort of comfortable with that idea of just going until you literally can't go anymore?
Um, I think. Yeah, it's not something that I've done before. And like whenever I've stopped in a backyard, it's either been because I've won, so we naturally stop, or last time it was like I had to stop because I had to get myself home for work. So it's like, yeah, I guess it's unknown territory, and I just think like it's such a big um, like I'm so pleased to be on the UK like backyard team, and it's such a great opportunity. I think I wouldn't want to waste that by just saying, okay, let's wrap it. Let's wrap it up now. That's enough. Like I really want to see what I can get out of that opportunity, and obviously there'll be the UK's best backyarders there, so there'll be definitely be competition that wants to go a long way. So yeah, it'll just be super interesting. Like it's an event like no other, isn't it? And it's like it's just fascinating. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how it unfolds and how far everybody else is willing to go.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it could go any way, couldn't it? It's going to be exciting. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll definitely be following that. Um, so with your love of all things like winter and bad weather and muddy stuff, then, when we're going to see your name down for the full winter spine?
I'm on there for
Oh, you
January.
really? I didn't. I didn't even know. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. No, so yes, it's my first. It'll be my first time.
Wow,
Um,
that's amazing. So, yeah, I'd spoken to Will about the women's race this year, and he was throwing some names around, and I had looked at the list. So that's amazing that you're going to be on that. So is that something that you've how are you going to approach it then? So
I think I'm just gonna like appreciate that it's my first time. I've not done any of the like shorter spine races. I've just gone straight for the big one.
mm,
And I'm happy just being like a newbie and just like soaking up the adventure,
mm,
seeing what it's all about, learning lots of lessons, I'm sure.
good.
Sure there'll be lots of lessons. Yeah, it's like it's complete. It's not like nothing else, is it? And there's nothing really that I don't think there's anything that can prepare me for it. So I'm
Mm.
just gonna, yeah, try it, not try and enjoy it, and
You will
yeah,
enjoy it. You will
and
enjoy it.
it
Yeah,
for what it is, if that makes sense.
yeah. I think looking back now with my experience of the spine, so because I've done, I've done every race other than like Challenger South now. Um, and I always like worry too much about the races and I think I built it up in my head so much as this thing that I'd seen and going helping at the race and doing media and being on checkpoint and stuff. And I built it up into this massive thing. So I think in some ways it could be like an advantage to just come straight into it and not have that build up because sometimes if you're around the race too much you can sort of build it up in your head and think that it's like this absolutely impossible thing that's only superhuman people can do. And then
Yeah,
when you're actually in it, you realize, oh, you're one of those people that the people in the checkpoint are like, wow, I can't believe you've got this far. And yet you're just like in the race, like just trudging along sort of thing. So I think it's possibly like a bit of a psychological advantage to just go straight in and do the full thing. And I think that
mm,
the fact that you've got all of the skills already that you would need for that, like, running through the night, running, in horrific conditions and stuff against the clock, then yeah, I think, oh, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, this year, the women's race?
yeah. I mean, I'm not like I think that's what I'm saying. I'm not thinking about the women's race. I'm just,
Yeah.
you
Just
know,
wanted
I'm
to.
yeah, I'm new. I'm new here. Be kind. Yeah, I'm just gonna see what happens and not put any pressure on myself and yeah, ready for the lasagna and I think no, I know what you're saying though. I think like the spine has got this massive rep, hasn't it? And whenever you do it, anyone's like, oh, or like mention it, and it's like the biggest, hardest thing you'll ever experience. But like that is so subjective, isn't it? Because it's like it's like almost uh, like when I was running the 13 Valleys last weekend, it was like you're like, oh, well, this isn't that bad, that isn't that bad because I've experienced worse. So it's like it's so subjective and it's so dependent on what your experiences are, I guess.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I hope you get as good a weather as we got last year with the snow and just yeah, it was some of the days were absolutely spectacular. Just the snow, it was like up on Crossfell. That was like I was so glad that I was up there in daylight and there was no wind. It was blue skies and just like knee deep snow, and you just like post hole in across, like seeing everything in the distance, and you could see if you see so far when there's like daylight and and snow everywhere. The experience you'll have is amazing. And even like I had a rough time. I fell over and knocked myself out and got held like a mini checkpoint for 8 hours. And looking back, a lot of stuff went wrong, but I've got such amazing memories of that race that I'll never, even if I never do it again, which actually I promised the wife I would never do it again. Even if I never do it again, I've got those memories. I think you're gonna do amazing. I look forward to it. And I'll be on back on media team this year, so I'll be hassling you with a camera in your face at some point. So please forgive me for that, since now that I know how much you hate this kind of stuff.
I was just going to say I'll be there with my one-word answers, so don't you worry. How are you feeling, Sarah? Yeah.
Right. That'll make some good sound bites for the end of the day video, isn't it?
I might just start grunting later on. Oh.
Sometimes that's all you can manage sometimes. Right, I appreciate you didn't want to do this interview, so I'm not going to keep you any longer than you have to.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been good. I appreciate you coming on. I know it's something that you're not naturally inclined to do, but I think it's great to sort of hear your backstory and everything. And now that I know that you like doing the spine, that makes it more interesting. And I probably will hassle you even more now, even though I said that I wouldn't hassle you for another interview. I probably will be hassling you again
Ah,
for a post
babe.
spine interview. I don't know.
Thanks.
Keep laughing.
Inside.
So thank you for coming on. I appreciate you giving up your time, and all the best. And I will see you in January.
Oh, thank you. See you then. Bye.
Thanks for coming on. See you. Bye, everyone. Bye, 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 bye.
Don't know how to